Summer is the perfect time to add fresh, bubbly, fermented foods to your diet. Come along with me in my kitchen today while I make 3 of our favorite summer ferments. So the ferment that I'm going to start with today is sauerkraut. Most people are familiar with the idea of sauerkraut. It's just simply cabbage that has been fermented or pickled in a brine. So a brine is just salt water. You actually don't really need to add water to the cabbage because when you add the salt, it releases so much juices on its own. It's actually a totally amazing process. I think sauerkraut's a really good first ferment for people to try because it's so easy. All you need is cabbage, salt, and a jar. And then also, like, it's really hard to mess it up. I strongly feel like people don't need to be nervous about trying their own pickles and ferments. I mean, think about it this way. If you are going to the grocery store or the farmer's market and you're picking up a dozen eggs, you bring them home and you open up an egg. Maybe you even cook the egg and you bite into your meal and it tastes absolutely disgusting. Then you know there's something wrong with your egg and you don't eat it, right? Our bodies are naturally inclined to eat good things, and our senses are strong and powerful. Like, God gave us some protective mechanisms, and we're not going to just go consuming things that are bad for us. So the fact that sauerkraut is delicious and has this bubbly, pickly, tangy flavor, I mean, maybe your taste buds are just not used to that, and it's something that you're kind of like, oh, like, I'm not really used to that taste, but you have to you would want to get used to it in order to appreciate it more. But it's not like oh my goodness, no, I can't believe that's in my mouth. It tastes bad. It tastes wrong, right? So anyway, I guess I'm just saying is that if you're going to be inspired by this video to make your own sauerkraut for the first time, you're going to go chop up your cabbage like I just did. You're going to put the salt in it and massage it and let it get all into its own juices. And then you're going to shove it all in a jar, pack it really tight, let it sit on your counter for like 2 or 3 days before transferring it to the fridge. You're gonna go taste that thing, and then you're gonna know, like, your body would know if there was something wrong with it. Like, there would be visible mold. Like, you would be like, oh no, that's bad. But I have never had that happen to me, and I'm not a particularly attentive cook. Like, I have 5 kids. I make messes all the time. I make mistakes all the time. My kids help me. I literally am probably burning cookies right now while I caption this video. If I can do this, then really, like, anybody can do this. So when you're making your cabbage, when you're preparing it, you can actually do that in multiple different ways too. Here I'm kind of finely slicing it. You can grate it, you can put it through your food processor, you can have it in like diced up, so that it would be more like a diced onion type of thing. Any way that you want to do it. I don't have a food processor. I do have very sharp kitchen knives, and it's super easy for me to just do it this way. We all like it this way, and nobody's picky about it. But when the kids were a little younger, I used to dice it up more finely just because I felt like it was easier for me to sneak it into things, like their tuna salad, without them 100% noticing. So actually I put it on my salad, or use some of it in salad dressing all the time. So if you've never done that, it tastes amazing in tuna salad, just kind of like you would add a pickle. That's a really good little summer tip. But anyway, back to the process. So as I said before, all it is cabbage and salt. And if your cabbage is really dried out and the salt and massage isn't making enough juice come out, and when you're packing it into your jar at the very, very end, you can go ahead and add just a little bit more, like filtered water. I managed to cut off my head in a lot of this video, but that's okay. I'm going to give you all the information that you need, and you can just infer that I do have a head, in fact. So another thing that I was doing today was just washing all of my produce. I have learned that you can actually wash out, I think it says up to like 99% of the pesticides off of your produce if you soak them in baking soda. So I was doing that with my apples and carrots. I was really hoping to get some fermented dilly carrots made today as well, but I did not get to it. That's gonna have to be another YouTube video. But when I went out in my garden, I discovered that I didn't even have enough dill. Like, my dill is still growing. I think it's kind of an odd garden year. We've had some things doing amazing and other things not as amazing, so we'll just see. But so the next step when you're making your sauerkraut is just to get in there with your clean hands and really massage all that salt right in. It will release a ton of juice, and then when you pack it in later into the jar, you should also be able to really submerge it in its own brine. That's the key for not having any of your produce go bad while you're fermenting it. You just want to make sure it's all submerged in its own saltwater brine, because that's what original pickling is. So on this day, my oldest son and I also made a ton of real pickles. He's got some green thumb going on, and his cucumbers are doing amazing, and we're actually just kind of drowning in cucumbers right now. But my kids all love pickles, and that's a really easy, great way to add ferments to your diet as well. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the process here. So the day before this, or 2 days before, I guess, I had made yogurt in my Instant Pot, which is so affordable and easy, and I just absolutely highly recommend it. My one tip though is, if you have a large family, just double your recipe, because by the time you turn it into yogurt and then strain off your whey to make your yogurt thicker, which is something that I prefer to do, you don't have very much. So just make a big batch instead of a small batch. You trust me. But that's not really the point of, that's not what we're talking about for ferments today. I can do a video on how I make my yogurt. If anybody is curious, just let me know in the comments. Okay, so here I am shoving all this beautiful cabbage into a jar, and I actually managed to get the entire cabbage into this one jar. It must have been a smaller cabbage than usual, because that doesn't usually happen. But you can see that I am pressing as hard as I can, trying to get all of the bubbles up to the surface and make sure that all of the cabbage is submerged in the brine. And then I take a nice piece of the outer leaf and I put it on top. I'll discard that when I open my ferment later. Some people have special fermenting weights, but that's highly unnecessary. It's just a matter of personal preference. So I'm bringing you over to our pickle scenario, we've got the whey being poured on. There's some salt and spices and a grape leaf, which made the pickles stay nice and crunchy. Now, these pickles are naturally fermented, so they're not being canned. And so that also might have helped with maintaining the crunch factor without any chemicals. Obviously, there's a chemical called tannins in the grape leaf, and that's why it helps. But if you don't have a grapevine at your house, you could always try an oak leaf, because I have heard that it works too. So we're just taking a peek at our bunnies. It was such a hot day, and the bunnies were enjoying a little bit of free time. My son was watching them play here, and they even got to have a little bit of treats.
This one's speed. He's very fast.
The smaller ones are like usually the faster ones.
This is me. Hey, me.
Our Coco.
So my final ferment for you today is water kefir. I have already strained off the grains, and this is the kefir liquid. So what it is sugar water that's been fermented by a symbiotic relationship of bacteria and yeast. And so once you strain off the grains, you're going to keep those, and you're going to feed them sugar water again. And then what you're going to do with your water kefir is, generally most people want to make a second ferment with it. So I'm taking some of our fresh strawberries that we had from a local strawberry farm. I had frozen these and then thawed them, and the juice is basically all I'm going to need for this recipe. I'm just going to take some of that strawberry juice. I'm going to pour it through my little handy sieve with into my small neck bottle with a funnel, kind of a balancing act here. And then I will add all of my water kefir that has already been fermented once. So this is called the second ferment. It's to add the yummy flavor to it. You don't want to put your kefir grains in at this point. They are going to be fed again. So this is just a beautiful color, and this just plain strawberry sort of juice was our favorite ferment that we've made so far. Like, it was so delicious. You can see that I have gotten my my kefir grains from a company called Happy Gut. It's on the bottle there. I'm not affiliated with them. They had a good product, and if you also want kefir grains, you could absolutely check them out. I've been really happy with them.
Ronan, what's wrong?
And with how easy it is to make kefir, because all you need is sugar and water. And so far, my kefir grains seem really resilient as well. I fed them with different types of sugar. I've used coconut sugar, I've used white sugar, I've used organic cane sugar. I prefer to keep it organic, but if that's not what I have on hand, I can still make my family some delicious fermented goodness even without that. One of the keys, though, is to have one of these bottles that you can off-gas easily when you are making kefir, because I have had it slightly explode. It was kind of volcanic. My kids thought it was awesome. And in the summer, in the heat, that's more likely to happen.
They're symbiotic
So these
relationship
little
between
gel,
bacteria and yeast.
clumps are the actual kefir grains. Like I said, it's a
Symbiotic
symbiotic relationship between bacteria and
now we have
yeast.
to feed it.
I can't really explain it, but it eats the sugar water and makes stuff that's good for your health, and I love that. I would much prefer my kids to be having delicious, homemade, fermented, bubbly drink than like some kind of soda that's just laden with all kinds of stuff I don't want in their systems. And we don't allow our children to drink soda ever, so this is just a really fun drink for summertime. I'm showing you now how I feed the kefir. So I'm plopping all those strained off grains back into this jar. It does not matter at all that the jar is not washed. It's just the same jar that they fermented in before. And I'm going to add some sugar. And filtered water. It's really important that the water that you use is filtered or boiled and cooled, or you can purchase water. And that's because bacteria and yeast don't like things like chlorine that's in tap water. Now, if you're on a well, it's obviously a different story, but I'm sure you guys know that. So there we are, that's done. I've got my second ferment going with the strawberry in it, and then I'm feeding again the kefir grains. I'm gonna go ahead and pop recipes for all of these things in the comments. Here are our pickles. They were absolutely delicious. You can see all those beautiful bubbles, and I hope you try them out.